Have that discussion and talk about them, but that's not our focus for this year. So it was, let's just go back. There it is, 9 o'clock. So we're going to have a couple more videos coming up later, but be aware of what you're looking for. And I know we'll have some more training on this tomorrow as well with inter-rater reliability. Just a quick quiz, a couple more coming on how the observation goes and how tricky it can be. So Sarah, continue on.
All right. So if you would now turn in your books to page 19. We're going to skip 18 just so that what you're looking at matches what's on the screen. So there are 3 ways you can access the domains and the standards of what is our district's vision of effective teaching. The first is with that overview of the domains and standards with the 1 sentence summarizing effective for that category, or that standard, excuse me. The next is the big overall chart where you can look at all 24 of them. And then this is the breakdown of each individual standard. You will see at the top, of course, it says Domain 1, Planning and Preparation for Learning, so that's the category. Standard 2, Plans, Alignment, and Lessons. So that's the specific standard you are focusing on in this one slide. At the top, you have the guiding questions. In the middle, the chart, which is the same as from the big chart. And then at the bottom, possible evidence to look for. The guiding questions and the possible evidence to look for, we got a lot of this from Springfield because they're already using this and we really liked it, so we didn't want to really invent anything new. But the idea behind the guiding question is to help the observer, whether it's a mentor teacher, whether you have a student teacher and you're trying to help that student teacher get through their MAT program, or it's your evaluator coming into the classroom. The guiding questions help the outside person know kind of what am I looking for? What does this mean? So for example, under plans, alignment, and lessons, is the content being taught connected to state, district, or national standards? Is the content being taught connected to the previous or the next lesson? Can the teacher state his or her student learning goals, and are these goals measurable? Are they stated in terms of student learning? Now, those of you that have been PsyOp trained, that really comes a lot from PsyOp too. So a lot of this stuff is going to be overlapping, might be making those connections too. So those are your guiding questions of kind of narrowing your focus. And then the concrete, more tangible stuff is at the bottom. And that's the possible evidence to look for. So for example, the teacher develops standards-based lessons with the PLC. There are year-long unit and weekly lesson plans developed that include learning goals and learning objectives. And I do believe that learning goals versus learning objectives are defined in the glossary of terms at the back of this page, in case you're wondering what exactly we mean by those 2 things. Bullet 3 says students can tell how and why the lesson is connected to previous learning because the lesson and unit objectives are posted. Teacher anticipates confusion students might have, plans strategies, and students demonstrate success on external assessments. And we actually fussed around quite a bit with that external assessment language. Many people will immediately go to, oh, does that mean that people are going to be looking at OAKS data or something like that? And actually that's kind of an ambivalent term right now. It could be external assessment, meaning how are they going to do on their final test? It could be how are they having success, like for me as an English teacher, doing writing in other classes. I might, with my partner with a social studies teacher. So it has a couple of things that you can do there. And then you have, of course, in the middle going across the 4, 3, 2, 1, highly effective, improvement necessary, and does not meet standards. And so the goal behind this piece is it gives the outside observer and the teacher, which I think is really important, that concrete place to start. Am I doing those things? So for myself, in my classroom, I can sit down and say, am I doing that? Have I worked with the PLC team and developed my lessons according to standards? Do my students know why we are doing this? Always our favorite question. Have I anticipated student confusion? And as a self-evaluation tool, if I find myself saying no to any of those things, then I'm not necessarily effective. I might need some improvement. I'm not necessarily highly effective. So I like this as a teacher because it gives me a very kind of a roadmap, concrete way to know what I can do to make myself a better teacher. The next slide is simply another one there at standard 3 with assessment, and you can see how again it has the guiding questions and the possible evidence to look for. And then they continue on through page 41, which I am not going to go through each of those, but I do strongly encourage you to take some time and actually read through each one in detail. After having worked on the committee and read these over and over again for punctuation errors and all those sorts of things, there are still some surprises on there for me, and I've read them multiple times. And I think that the more you know the criteria as an evaluator, as a mentor teacher, as a teacher yourself, the more you know that this is what our district believes is the best definition of highly effective teaching, the more we can internalize it. I know I see that with my students. The better they know the writing scoring guide, the better they know how they're going to be graded, if you will, the better they do, because it becomes part of just naturally in your head of this is what I need to do in order to do well. And so I do encourage you to read through it, even though it is long. 41 pages is a lot, but the guiding questions and the evidence really help the chart come to life and help you see exactly what it means. I think that's about it. I would say, I may be jumping the gun on this, but when I first started working on this, I wondered, is this what the evaluator is going to bring with them to those mini observations? If they know that my goal is standard 2, whatever standard 2 is, my goal is standard 2, learning plans and alignment, are they going to bring this big broken down rubric with the guiding questions and the evidence to look for when they come in from a mini observation? The answer is no, they are not. But it's something that you would talk about in your conversations with them. It's how you're going to, as the educator, how you're going to create your goals for yourself. And a lot of it's going to be, I think, self-evaluation, self-reflection on your own practice. So just thought I'd put that out there. So administrators, you're not going to be carrying around 41 pages of rubrics to all the mini observations. It won't happen.
Okay, Sarah, thank you so much. Very well said. And being a member of the Benton team, you did get that goose call out, so that's good. We want to start thinking in practical terms now and start living this evaluation a little bit. So our next pair share has to do with that. And you are an administrator, you've just completed your second mini observation with the teacher, and you realize this teacher really has a shoot from the hip, really not a whole lot of lesson planning going on in that room. So I would like you to turn with a colleague and for a few minutes talk about the conversation you're going to have with that teacher within 48 hours, knowing that your goal is, what did I say? Oh, did I? Wow, 24 hours. Knowing that your goal is to improve
It's a hard conversation.
Improving the quality of instruction. Go ahead.
Maybe looking at that rubric and say, where do you see yourself on this and why? You know, have them bring out the specifics in their lesson to show where they are. And then have the conversation of, all right, what would you say you need to work on then if I come into the classroom next time? Have something that you've agreed upon, and then say, okay, great, when I see you next time, I'll be looking for.
Thanks, Debbie. Have them pull it out.
Debbie stole my idea. But that's exactly what we were talking about too, is how the rubric could be used to help the teacher do a self-evaluation. And one thing that I really like is the part on the bottom where it says possible evidence, that maybe the teacher thinks that they're doing that. Well, are you doing this? You know, do you have your objectives posted? Are you connecting to previous learning? And that it gives really specific examples that show evidence of of whether they truly are doing what they want to be doing or not.
Good, thank you.
Anybody else?